So welcome, Kevin.
Well, thank you, Karen. I am so excited to be here. This is wonderful. You and I have talked before. I love talking with you, and I'm sure I'm going to enjoy this. But thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here.
Oh, well, thank you. It's my pleasure. You just you got such a fascinating, not only are you doing great stuff, and you're helping people and just making such a big difference to people, but you've got such a fascinating story, as to how you got there. And it's fun, and I've loved talking to you too when we do speak, other than this, you just got such a big heart and just so much kindness for people. And I don't know, you make me feel warm and fuzzy every time I talk to you. So.
Well, thank you, Karen. Thank you.
My pleasure. So, in the intro, I mentioned that, you mentioned about you adopting and fostering kids, and it seems that was the catalyst, like to catapult you into this amazing stuff you're doing at the moment, with NLP and hypnotherapy, and really making a difference with people. But tell us about that journey and how things were different, and then what happened. And
Sure.
I've heard the story before, and I love it, and I want listeners to hear it. It's fantastic.
Sure. Okay. My wife and I had been married for 13 years, and we hadn't had any kids and couldn't have any kids. And so, my wife will tell you that it's my fault. And I was doing it when I was younger. I was doing a lot of riding the mechanical bull. It was popular back then, and I love doing it. But she surmises that's the problem. But whatever the problem is, we couldn't have kids, so we decided to adopt. In adoption, you go to an adoption agency and they put your name in, and you could adopt from various places in South America or Asia. And we're going to go for that route for a little baby. And after 2 years, we found out that the adoption agency had lost all of our paperwork, and they were putting us back in a queue, which would be another 3 to 5 years. And we had already been 13 years without having a child. And so it was almost miraculous for us. It was like all of a sudden we're discussing it, and we see this poster, and it says, "Why not think of adopting older children?" And you're adopting them out of what we call social services. So these are children in foster care. And so we said, why not? Why not? So we decided to go, and we ended up finding ourselves in a 10-week class, which was pretty cool because it was just starting like a couple weeks after we checked on it, because it's only done a couple of times a year. And before the end of that 10-week class, they had identified a child for us, and we were the first one in the whole class that they identified a child for us. And he was adorable. It was real cute, and we got to meet him after a week or two later, and he was just so nice and so cute. And so we said, "This is it. This is wonderful." Now, during that 10-week class, we learned about all the problems foster children can have, and so they warned us about everything you'd run into. Well, when he walked into our house, he had already lived at 7 houses before ours at 5.5 years old. And some of those houses did not have good stories. And so he came with a lot of baggage. And from the very first day, I remember it was that afternoon, he started whining and crying and screaming. And I said to him, I said, "What can I do? How can I help you?" He looked up at me and he said, "You could never understand. You can't help me." A 5.5-year-old said that to me. And I said, "Oh my goodness." And so his behavior got harder and harder to handle over the years. And, we finally got him into counseling, whatever counseling you can get for a child of that age. I think it's probably around 7 by then. and he got on those ADHD meds, which were the rage at the time because everybody was being diagnosed with ADHD, and they were figuring, well, all his behaviors and stuff like that maybe have to do with ADHD, and really kind of ignoring all his background. But it got worse, and we had eventually, adopted a couple other children, younger, at very younger ages, and he became really violent. He would take 1 hour rages in the yard, just throwing around everything he could find, and we just we couldn't handle it. We didn't know what to do. So he had a couple of hospitalizations where, that's what you do when the child is out of control. You can't do anything else. You got to do something. So you turn to the hospital, and they evaluate him, and they might give him a new drug or something like that. But they eventually said what he needs to do is he needs to be put in a facility for kids with behavioral problems. It has a school, it has psychiatrists, it has therapists, counselors, everything. So we said, yeah, maybe that'll be a good deal. And we really were hoping. One of the things, by the way, that we were taught, and we brought to heart, it says, okay, when you bring a child into your home, when you make that decision, you commit to it.
Mm.
You commit to it. When he walked into our home early on, we said, this is your forever home. You've been in a lot of homes. This one is your forever home. And so we were committed. We weren't going to turn around. We weren't going to lose him. But we had to have this break where maybe he could get help. But we were there all the time. We were there on weekends, and we spent holidays, everything. Unfortunately, he just became worse and worse and worse.
Mm.
And by the age of 17, they couldn't handle him anymore, and they said, he's got to go into psychiatric lockdown, which means really heavy medications. He was already on a ton of medications, but really heavy sedation medications to keep him safe and manageable. And so along those lines, in those last couple of years that he was there, I said something else is gonna happen. I had learned about this thing called NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. One of the businesses I had run was a sales training business, and we were using this stuff called NLP for language patterns. And so I did some research on it, and it looked like it was phenomenal for clinical stuff too. What I read about it said it could really do some really incredible stuff.
Mm.
So, I started trying to figure out where I could learn it. I went to all the Tony Robbins stuff, and I don't know if you know who Tony Robbins is.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's famous over there too, huh?
Yeah.
And I walked on fire. I did a lot of stuff. I changed myself tremendously, but I didn't learn what to do with my son. And so finally, I said, well, I'm going to have to go get trained. So I started to go get trained. And during that training, I learned that, I need to really hire somebody. I can't be the one working on my son. And I need to hire someone that's experienced, because my son his list of diagnoses were pages long. He had every single 3 and 4 letter diagnosis I've ever seen, right?
Mm.
Starting off with PTSD, ADHD, OCD, RAD, everything that ended with a D he had. I don't know why. And all sorts of meds. So they said, you need someone experienced. So I hired somebody that was trained the way I was being trained. And she worked with my son within 1 week's time with 3 5-hour sessions. And I got to say, and I'm going to back up a little bit. My son was 17 years old. He was a teenager. And the thing about my son was he was extremely aware of the problems he had. He couldn't control them. he didn't like them, and he really wanted to be normal, what he thought was normal, and he wanted his family back. He wanted to come back and live at home. So when he went through the treatment, he was all in. He says, I'm going to do whatever I can to get rid of this stuff.
Mm.
So he cooperated 100% fully, and did all the work with the imagery and everything else. And in 3 5-hour sessions, it was all gone. It was all gone.
Wow.
And it was noticeable right away by the staff. They couldn't believe that this is the kid that they've had there for so many years, and that was so troublesome. And all of a sudden he was different. And they finally let him go. It took 3 months for them to realize, hey, this is permanent. This isn't just a fake thing with him.
Mm.
And he no longer needed to be there. And he came home to live with us, finished his high school degree, and never had a violent moment since then. Never had a hospitalization like the psychiatric hospitalizations he was having 5 times a year.
Mm.
And it's been wonderful. Now,
Mm.
that was a few years ago. That was 15 years ago. My son's 32 years old now, and he has a 7-year-old that he is in the process of adopting that also went through a lot of tumultuous stuff as well.
Wow.
So it's a wonderful circle.
Oh.
And yeah,
Wow.
I am so blessed to have, well, I'm so blessed to have my family and my kids, but to have found what I found. The minute I saw what I consider a miracle, that's when I made the decision. I want to do this stuff with other people. I want to help other people like this person helped my son. So I went and finished all my training, and I hung a shingle, and I started doing that. And I've been doing it ever since for the last 15 years, I think. Yeah.
Wow. It's
And
isn't it amazing though how, and you can tell us more about NLP. I want to know about that in a minute. But isn't it amazing how we can just wipe people off, and say that, you've got this and this and this, and you belong in this place. And, we so quick to do that. And over here, we've got, it's not quite so bad, but just even a few years ago, every kid and their dog was being diagnosed with ADHD and giving medication. And and I would, and now I'm not against medication totally, because if there's a need for it, there's a need for it. But I am against just randomly, well, that's an easy fix. Just give them the medication, shut them up, put them in a corner and turn them into zombies, and we don't have to deal with them. And I really hate that. And I just love your persistence, because a lot of parents are burnt out and just are so thankful for the peace that the drugs bring, that they can finally sleep again, and that they probably know deep down, oh, I don't know if this is right, but I haven't got it within me, to keep trying new things. I just love the persistence that you had, and the love for this child, that you saw that beautiful soul within him that was screaming for help. And I love that. And it changed the course of your life. That
it certainly did. It wasn't, I tell the story a little quick. It wasn't without a lot of pain.
Yeah.
It wasn't without a lot of suffering. There's a lot of suffering on his part, and there's a lot of stuff that we went through. And my wife and I have a deep faith, and there were times when it really strained the marriage. There were times when I might have had a deeper belief that there was something out there for him than she did, but she never gave up. She just was more on the fence than I was for a while. And it was tough. I had a lot of parents would have I think a lot of parents would have given up and said, all right, we're all set, you take care of them, and that's it. Matt, the first year he went into this facility, this we I can't even remember the name of what we call it here. First year he went in, his psychiatrist said, you know, I know, I think I know what's going to do him well. So he brought us to a meeting of the head psychiatrist with in the department for the state, and they just landed this bomb on us. You know, there was no pre-talk. They just said, hey, your therapist says that the best thing for your son is for you to tell your son that he can never come home again.
Oh, wow.
Because the therapist thought, well, he's trying too hard and it's just blowing up. And I told you, we had this commitment that we weren't going to let it go. Now, they did say, you know, it doesn't mean you're not going to be his parents. He just never can come home and live at home again. And that was probably the only time we spent a whole weekend at home crying. And it was like, it was a big decision. And, you know, at the time we said, well, you guys are the ones that know the best, you know, as far as these conditions go. We don't. And so we gave in. And later on, I will tell you that different people with the same institution looked at the records and apologized to us, and they said, I can never understand why we would ever ask a family to do this. And we should never have asked you to do this, because it didn't work. My son actually got worse. When we told him he's never coming home, it got worse. And so, yeah, it was just it was a horrifying thing for us to go to, but keeping the faith that there was something there for him, something was going to work. You know, in those years I was doing the research, I had actually seen firsthand how this stuff can change people that had been dealing with stuff for years and years and years. So I knew that there was something somehow was going to help my son. And we found it. And we found it. My wife and I looked at this along the way, and we said to ourselves, on the other end, we're going to come out of this and we're going to be stronger than ever. And it's going to help us deal with other problems with our other children. And it actually helped us deal with other problems, because after we adopted our 3 children, we started doing foster care, and we were helping other children too. So it helped us with those children as well. We did come out on the other end, thank God, and it did make us stronger than ever. And but it was something I'd not want to wish upon anyone else to go through it. I'd not want to wish upon any other child to have that kind of baggage. And the unfortunate thing is that it's out there. It's out there, and there's a lot of kids. When we went through foster care, we saw that too much. Now, I have worked with children, but I don't specialize in children. But there are so many children suffering out there from one thing or another. It doesn't even have to be full-blown, you know, abuse the way we know it, you know, physical abuse or sexual abuse. It can be something more minor or something uncontrolled, because I found it doesn't happen with all adopted children, because I have 3 of them. But I found that it's more common with adopted children. It doesn't matter what age they get adopted, but when they leave the comfort and the warmth of and the love of the person that, you know, gave them birth, and they go to another person, even though they're at an age they can't comprehend, what they do feel is they do feel this detachment, right? And then another attachment. Now that stays with them for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And so at some point, for some children, it it starts causing problems. So I've worked with several adoptees and the adoptions were very, very young age, and there were no problems in the family and growing up, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, behavioral problems start.
Yeah.
And it's because there's something there that is just, like a little void in their subconscious mind.
Mm.
And it just brings it up later. And it's so sad. It's so sad to see our kids like this. Now, I can't speak for older generations. I didn't grow up in the 30s, 40s, 50s, but it seems to me that problems with children seem to be getting more, I don't want to say worse, but more of them coming up.
Mm.
Now, I don't know why. I believe there's been a ton of studies and all sorts of theories, whether it's environmental or what, but seeing children suffer is something that it really touches my heart. And, with the emotional pain that nobody else can understand.
Yeah.
And when nobody else can understand, that means nobody else has any idea how to help them.
Yeah.
And they go to what we were just talking about. They go to drugs. Do drugs
Oh,
help? I don't know. Like you, I'm not anti-drug. There are some people that cannot survive in this world without medication. Not just the physical medication that they need, but even some people with mental health disorders, they wouldn't be able to survive without certain medications. So I thank God that they're there.
yep. Yep.
But if having that as the end all is what I don't like, because there are ways.
Yep.
For some people, there are other ways to get rid of the problem, not manage it, but get rid of it. And my son was the example. Now, I like to say that since then, I've had many, many, many successes with a lot of people, young and old. Yeah, I work mostly with adults, but I've worked with teens, and I've worked with young children as young as 8, 9 years old, and I have so much fun with them. They're so beautiful because they haven't had a lot of the stuff put on their imagination to really squash their imagination, right? As we're growing up, we get faced with what others will say, this is the reality, right? This is the hard truth that you got to deal with. And it just squashes us down, and it squashes our imagination. And basically we're being told that, yeah, this is the way it is and there's no other way. And so why even bother thinking or dreaming or anything? Kids aren't that way. Kids are like our raw subconscious mind, and they have that ability to think way outside the box. And it's so much fun to help them, because that's where I go with kids like that. It's all story and imagination and just fun.
Yeah.
And those are, well, I enjoy all my work, but that's where the real fun is. The adults, what I really enjoy is when they walk in my door, someone who's in a lot of emotional pain, and walk out of my door several sessions later with a smile on their face and a lot of hope, because that is my reward. That is my reward. I just love that when that happens. And I'm blessed to have been taught and continually learn some things that are really powerful. And I have an intuition that's come along with me over the years. And so I can usually identify which way I want to go. And I'm also very careful. You might say, okay, you got a guided imagery, or you're doing this and that. What's there to be careful with? The mind is.
Yeah.
When I say something like, if you keep on thinking about what you want, and you think about it, and you think about how good it's going to be, and how wonderful it's going to feel, and what you're going to feel like when you're there, and how it's going to impact you and everybody around you. And I get this, and you can get this great vision. And I say, okay, you're eventually going to bring this to yourself. And it's very possible to do that. That's a great thing. But the mind works. The mind doesn't care whether it's something you want or you don't want. Right? It doesn't know the difference. Because if it's something you don't want, and you continue thinking about it, and you think about how painful it's going to be if it were to happen, and this and that, it's going to bring it to you too. The mind's amazing. It can do wonderful things, but it can do terrible things. All right. It's pretty neutral. It doesn't see it as good as bad. It sees it as, this is what needs to happen. And so I get amazed in I love it. I love the way it works, but the way it works is also the cause of a lot of the pain, the cause of a lot of the things that go on. So I am blessed to actually have that understanding at that level. So when someone does come in to me, and I have a lot of empathy. I'm not an empath, fortunately. Do you know what an empath is?
Well, isn't that an empathetic person?
Let's put it this way. It's a super empathetic person.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. My wife is an empath. We were trying out this energy thing that is really a form of acupuncture, but it's acupuncture energetically.
Yeah.
And this person who was doing it is really famous, and he's had so many people get cured of terminal cancer and everything. So we went to a session, and there had to be 100 people in the room. It was on the second floor, and we walked up, and we were a little late, so it was already going on. We walked up the stairs, opened the door, and you had to take a right and go down the hall to where the big room was. The second we opened the door, I could feel the energy.
Wow.
And I thought it was great. The second we opened the door, my wife could feel the pain of everyone that was in that room.
Wow. Wow.
We went and sat there, and as we're sitting there, and I was bringing her there because she's got some physical issues, and as we're sitting there, she's getting weaker and weaker. And it's like, oh my God. But that's an empath. So if she's with somebody who's feeling emotional pain, she'll feel it at a really high level. I couldn't do the work I do if I had that like she does, because I work with a lot of people in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And I have empathy for them. I feel for them, but I don't feel the pain. Right. When I was taught to do the work I do, that was one of the dangers. They said, you really have to watch yourself, because if you're working with person after person after person, you can take on some of that depression, some of that emotional pain, some of that panic, whatever it is. And the fortunate thing for me is I do feel the empathy for them. A lot of the times I'll work with someone, and I'll say to myself after they leave, I say, no one should have to feel the way they feel. Yeah. And that's what drives me.
Yeah. So what is NLP? Like, explain how it works, and because because what you're saying is just, it's just fabulous, that people can have such amazing outcomes. It
is. And also what I'm saying, I don't know if you picked this up at all. I am really passionate about what I do.
Yeah.
And sometimes that passion comes out much too much with people, and I'll tell them all these stories that I'm fascinated with, and it comes out so unbelievable. It comes out so unbelievable that it turns people off, and they don't believe it. They say, "Oh, I'm full of BS." So I I have to hold back my passion a little, uh, but it is. And neuro-linguistic programming, I don't even know whether people would call this a psychological science or whatever, but what it was started out to be is a study of excellence. These two guys, Richard Bandler and John Grinder, they got together, and one was an undergraduate and the other was a professor, and they got together and they said, well, we should be able to do this kind of stuff. Well, if someone's really good at what they do, it should be able to be broken down and to be able to taught to others so they can be just as good.
Yeah.
So they called it the study of excellence, and it was really a set of modeling. But the three people they started modeling with were Virginia Satir, and she was a top family therapist in the country at the time. Someone could come in and just start telling them the problem, and she'd ask them questions about it, and within that short period of time, sometimes they get over their problem.
Wow. Wow.
um, or she challenged them is what she actually did. But and then Fritz Perls, who is the father of Gestalt therapy, I believe. I think it's what it is. And then Milton Erickson, who was the top hypnotherapist. He was a psychiatrist, but he was also a top hypnotherapist in the country at the time, even in the world. And so what they did is they said, we want to know how people can be as good at what you do as you are. And when someone's really good, they don't always know what makes them good.
Yeah.
So these guys said, okay, we don't want to just interview you. We don't want you to tell us what you do. We want to watch you, and we want to ask you things as you're doing them, like what's in your mind? What are you picturing? What are you feeling? What do you believe? So it was really at a much deeper level. But what they found out is not only how to model what each of them did, but during this, they found out all sorts of little techniques and strategies to make changes that were phenomenal. Like, do you know that you can get rid of a belief, you can get rid of a limiting belief within minutes, right?
Yeah.
And actually acquire a new belief within minutes. And that's kind of an amazing thing. So it's neuro-linguistic programming. Neuro means your nervous system, your neurology, right? And it's all about a lot about the autonomic nervous system, which is the automatic stuff that we do, right? The stuff we don't really think about, right? That part of the nervous system is where your subconscious mind is. So the autonomic nervous system is really a lot about the subconscious as well, because the subconscious controls that. So then linguistic is language. And as it turned out, John Grinder was a linguist, which means made some of the earlier books on the NLP really hard to understand, because I opened one of them and I had to have a dictionary next to me to be able to read it. But it wasn't just about the words we use when communicating externally. It's also about the internal language.
Yep.
Words, our symbols, and everything else. And then programming is how we are programmed. So we're programmed for everything. We're programmed the way in which we approach something, the way in which we do things, the way in which we motivate ourselves, the way in which we make decisions. That's all programming in some way. And so the programming is discover how the programming is. And if you want to make change, you discover how we're programmed, and then you change the programming. And so that's neuro-linguistic programming. So it's rather rather unique, rather interesting.
Mm.
So let me give you an example. Okay. Can you think of something that bothers you?
Yep.
All right. So
Bloody oath.
so get
Which one?
a
Which one?
pick one.
Yep, I got one. All right.
Right. Get an image in your mind, in your mind. Okay. So in this image of your mind, do you see it yourself, or are you looking through your own eyes?
I'm
Do you
looking.
see yourself? Okay, so you're looking through your own eyes. All right. In this image in your mind, is it whatever you're looking at? Is it directly in front of you, or is it a little to the left, a little to the right, up, down?
A little to my left.
A little to your left. Okay, so it's a little to your left, and you're looking through your own eyes. We call that associated. And is it black and white or color?
Color.
It's color. Is it moving or still?
Moving.
Moving. Okay. And is it really close? It's a little to your left, but is it really close, or is it far away, or
It's about a couple of feet away from me.
a couple of feet away? All right. And is it larger than life? Is it smaller, or does it look like actual?
Looks like actual.
Actual. Okay. Okay. So this is how you program when you think of what you're thinking about, right? And when you think about what you're thinking about, how does it feel?
I want to punch him in the face.
Okay. All right. So so let's go back to this picture of
Yep.
him. And you said it was in color. Make it
Yep.
black and white.
Make it black and white. Yep.
Make it black
Okay.
and white.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And make he's about 2 feet away.
Yep.
All right. Make him about 12 feet away.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So now when you're thinking, now when you have this picture and you're thinking about him, how does it feel differently now?
It doesn't bother me as much. Yep. Doesn't
It
bother
doesn't,
me.
we just made little changes.
Yep.
So I'd go on and I'd make more and more changes to this. And all of a sudden it wouldn't, would you like it not to bother you at all?
Yes, because it happens every day.
This is, so what we're dealing with is the way you're programmed to think about him, and whatever way it was when it came up is the worst case, which is, or it's the case which gets you that feeling of punching him in the face. So,
Well,
so
sometimes it's not a him. It's.
Oh yeah.
Do you want me to tell? Do you want me to tell you what it is, or will that ruin it?
Actually, it won't ruin it, but let me give you a secret.
All right.
I worked with many people where I didn't know what their problem was and it went away. I helped them get rid of it. I don't have to know. But if you want to tell me, so the listening audience will also get it, go right ahead. Go right ahead. I'll be happy to hear this.
I can't freaking stand listening to people eating. I cannot stand listening to mouth noises. It does my head in. As soon as, and they can be like 2 feet away. And as soon as I catch one little noise coming from their mouth, with like that, I hone in and I can't hear anything else other than that person eating, and it drives me. So yes, I'd love to get rid of it because it's around me all the friggin' time.
There is a name for that, by the way. I can't remember, miso something. I can't remember.
It's called misophonia. Misophonia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
it's
so,
real.
by the way, I had that, and it had to do with running water.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't not running water, pouring, someone pouring something.
Oh, yeah.
And I couldn't stand it. So, so in this instance, it may be a little bit more work, but let's tone this down a little. So let's go back to the picture.
Yep.
Okay. So it's black and white and the person's 12 feet away.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's put you in the picture looking at this person. So you're seeing yourself right up front, looking at the person 12 feet away, and it's black and white.
Yep.
How does it feel now?
Fucking feels worse because I'm looking at them. But actually, no, that's maybe not true, because I'm looking at them eating with the mouth open, but I'm seeing other things in my periphery vision. So they only become, what they're doing becomes only a part of the picture. Whereas before, when they're off to my side and I can hear it, they completely hijack my mind. They completely hijack it. So it's only a small hijacking when I'm looking at
small hijacking. Okay. Now let's make them 20 feet away, even further, almost twice as far as where they are now.
Yep.
All right. Black and white. You're in there. And you're seeing yourself. And how does it feel now?
Yeah, that's better, because now I'm focusing on other things that are closer to me.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yep.
I want you to tell yourself and in your head, tell yourself to lock this in. At the same time, hear the sound of a big padlock clicking in, locking it securely. Okay. Yep. So what we did, and this isn't going to be the total solution to your problem, but what we did is just play a little with the programming of how you saw this. And it only took a minute.
Yeah.
And just in that minute, all of a sudden you realize what you could before easily bring up and easily frustrate you to want to punch them is now a lot easier on you, or at least as you're thinking of it. When you're dealing with it in person, it may be a little less as well.
Yeah.
So, but that's just an example of just one of the many types of techniques where we work with the way the mind sees something and interprets something. And it's so wonderful to have what I think is probably the best handbook on the mind that I've ever seen, which, because so many of this stuff works that quickly. I go from a point of looking for root cause. And by the way, for my son, that's what it was done with, looking for the root cause of the problems. So much of medicine today is all about maintenance. It's all about taking care of symptoms, not taking care of cause.
Yeah.
And even, traditional therapy does try to look for cause, but it goes the roundabout way. Let's keep on asking you as many questions as we can to hope, in hopes that something's going to come out that's going to identify something. You see, when you're working with the subconscious, and the subconscious actually knows what the problem is. So it's a matter of being able to work there and help identify that. Now, subconscious is not the easiest thing. Some of my peers don't like to call the subconscious as like a childlike. I like to talk about it as a 5-year-old, because when we have a problem, when we have a habit that we don't like, or we have a problem that we can't control, we can try telling ourselves that we don't have the problem till we're blue in the face. It doesn't work. If you're working with a 5-year-old and you're giving them instructions to do something, you can tell them till you're blue in the face sometimes. They're not going to get it, right? So in that manner, it's in that manner, in a lot of manners, it's like a young child. And so getting to the root cause, it knows what the root cause is, but sometimes it's hard to get direct answers from it. So you have to know how to interact, how to build rapport, and how to interact with the subconscious mind, and how the subconscious mind will act. And I've learned that with, by doing this over the years. There was no one big manual that said, hey, the subconscious mind is going to act this way or that way. NLP does have a lot of that, but I've also learned so much just by observing, and it fascinates me to this day. The cool thing about what I do is, when you do something and you get awe and you get awed, you're in awe. And that's almost every time I work with a client.
Yeah.
And it's just like, this is wild how the mind works. And I'm just so in awe. And I'll take advantage of it to help them. But it's just seeing it every time is just so cool. And maybe that's why I'm a little different than maybe some other people, because I am in awe. I have the passion comes from my son, and it put my family together, saved my son's life. And but I don't take it for granted. I know that the mind's a powerful thing, and how it works. And when I can figure out how to solve problems for my clients, that's when I just like, wow, it's not me. It's, I'm helping, I'm guiding, and they actually doing the work, but it's the subconscious mind that actually is what is the secret to it all. And it's just, it's so cool. It is just so wonderful to be able to do this stuff.
So how can you're also a mindset coach, we hear a lot about mindset, mindset this and mindset that. And it's hard to.
And you're right. Mindset. What is mindset? And everybody seems to use the word.
Yeah.
My business partner, Lisa Sherman, who was a guest with you.
Yeah.
Where we decided to call ourselves mindset coaches. And we realized that, what we do really has to do with mindset. So my definition of mindset is what attitude and beliefs that you have in the moment that are affecting your behavior, affecting your results you're going to get.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So mindset can change, and mindset sometimes has to change from moment to moment, depending on what you're dealing with. Okay. But you'll have a lot of people say, yeah, I got a winner's mindset. I got to get this kind of mindset or that kind of mindset. And since it's beliefs and since it's attitude and beliefs, your attitude has to be a certain attitude for you to handle making serious decisions, if you're running a business, right? Making to be able to deal with your kids when they have problems, or your spouse when they have problems, to be able to actually enjoy yourself to the fullest when it's time to take the breaks. That's all mindset. So you have to have that attitude. So it's not about so much about what the mindset is. It's so much about how to be able to control and move yourself from one attitude to another. And a lot of that has to do with beliefs.
Yeah.
And we all have a set of beliefs. And sometimes some of us have beliefs that oppose others. And you figure out, okay, who's right? I've got this belief, I got this. You're both right to yourself. The beliefs to your subconscious mind says, okay, this is true. You and the other person who have opposing beliefs believe that it's true. By the way, if you both believe something that's true that is opposite of each other, you both have different perspectives of the world. You both have different realities.
Yeah.
And we all have different realities, and we all have different realities because of our belief systems are not all the same. They're all just a little different, if not widely different from other people. My thing is, where the problem comes in is believing that your belief system is what everybody else should have, and the way you think is what everybody else is thinking. When we think that, that's where the problems start. But back to the mindset is, okay, I will tell you, if you wanted me to feel elated right now, I have the ability to do that without you actually helping me. If you wanted me to feel depressed right now, I have the ability. I can make my fellow self feel depressed like that, because physiology and the mind interact with each other. So you're if I could take the physiology of someone who's depressed and start feeling depressed in a moment,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have the ability to change my states, which change my attitude, which change my mindset.
Yeah.
And not everybody knows how to do that. And you know what the cool thing is? I call it cool thing. It's a little bit of a sad thing too, is even though I have that ability, when I get in a state that's not resourceful, when I get sad, or I get fearful, or I, even angry, I I can become, and I do become aware of the fact that I can change it.
Mm.
And sometimes I decide not to. And a lot of us are like that. And someone put it really well to me one time. They said, okay, if I'm depressed and I know I can get out of the state, but I want to stay there, sometimes I want to have a pity party for myself. It's like, okay, I will tell you though, I will tell you, I won't stay in any of those states for longer than a few minutes.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll stay in those states, and you could say shame on me, because I'm the one who knows how to get out of those states. Not everybody, 98% of the world uh, doesn't know that they have a choice.
Mm.
Did you ever watch The Matrix?
No,
You
I'm
know,
not into that. No.
okay, but you've heard of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a part of the movie has this alternate reality, whereas, okay, we're all living this dream, but somewhere we physically are plugged into a big battery,
Yeah.
and we're generating battery. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's a way to get it. The Matrix is this dream we're living in, and so some people can be pulled out of the dream and get the reality, but then they're given a choice. They say, okay, you can take a red pill or a blue pill. One of these pills will put you back into your dream, and you'll never know the difference, and you can keep on living. You'll be ignorant of what's going on. The other one will allow you to keep this dual reality and know that this is the real world. So in a sense, I've got that pill that says, I know I have choices.
Mm.
So I know that nobody, I know that if anybody makes me feel some way or another, if someone puts me down to make me feel bad, or gets angry, or berates me, I know that if I start to feel bad, it's my choice.
Yep. Yep.
And because I know how to get out of it.
Yep.
There's most of the people don't. So that's the thing about having that mindset. I can create a mindset where I have the attitude and beliefs that have the correct motivation and correct beliefs that to handle what I'm doing in the moment,
Mm.
whatever it is. And at least that's how I approach mindset. Other people approach mindsets differently, but there is a mindset for every moment, because you say, I got a winning mindset. Well, what's a winning mindset going to do when I have to go console my sister-in-law because my brother passed away?
Mm. Yeah.
Oh yeah, champ, that's silly. So there's no one mindset that's going to work for everything. We have the mindset is whatever it's going to be in the moment. And
Yeah.
I think the real key to mindset is knowing that you have to have the right attitude for whatever situation you're in, and
Yeah.
being able to bring that attitude in. So having the awareness first that you need a specific type of attitude, and the ability to bring it in.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Is
Now,
there is there a tip or a technique that you could share, that would help people to be able to, not magically, because everything takes work, but is there something that you could share that would help people to even become aware, that when they're in in a particular unhelpful state, that they can say to themselves or do that would make them become aware that they're in that state and that
Okay.
they do have a
So
choice.
the awareness comes with practice and time,
Yeah.
but becoming aware going in the state, okay, what is happening when I'm feeling this way? So usually it's okay, it's just the thoughts that come in, and they're not aware of what's going on in their body when they're feeling this way.
Yeah.
So where in your body are you feeling this?
Yeah.
Where in your body are you feeling this? And what does it feel like? Does it feel like a small ball? Does it feel huge? And what else is going on in your body at that moment? So once you go through those exercises several times, when you get into that state, you'll say, wow, I'm feeling this in my body here, and it feels like this. So this is showing me that, yes, I am in that state of anger or depression, whatever it is, right? But the awareness that your body is like that all of a sudden says, well, what if I wasn't feeling this down here? What can I do to not feel this down here? Maybe I stand up, maybe I straighten up, maybe I do this, maybe I do that, and I get out of those states.
Yeah.
There are a lot of techniques we have called anchors.
Yeah.
That are like, for instance, a lot of the anchoring can be done on knuckles or be done like this,
Yeah.
whatever. I can go into an elated state with an anchor that I created 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And which is an anchor kind of like this for me, and I say a word and it brings me back into that state. I can do that. So that's the kind of things that we do. But awareness comes with being much more aware of the thoughts that come in with say a depressed state, because that's where we usually go is our thoughts. Is okay, where is it in my body that's there, and what is it in that part of the body? What does it feel like? Is it moving? Is it heavy? Is it light? Does it seem like what color would it be? So we get all these things about how, by the way, that's programming again.
Yeah.
How we're programmed in this state. And once we take time to be aware of that, the next time it comes in, we'll be more aware of that. And every single time after, until we say instantly, oh, I'm feeling this pain, that means this is coming on, I got to do something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I love it. And I use anchoring, and I don't anymore, but I used to use it for going on stage or for talking or for anything like that. And that's just like that. And now never use it, ever use it, because I automatically just kick straight into what I
Right.
want to do. So
you built that
muscle.
habit,
Yeah.
the muscle memory takes it right in.
Yeah.
I do. Have you ever heard of emotional freedom technique, otherwise known as tapping?
Yeah, I have. Yep.
There was an advanced version of that where tapping, you'd be tapping here, all over the place. You do it in your mind.
Yeah.
And because of the muscle memory of having done it in those places that you did it, it has the exact same effect doing it in your mind as opposed to actually physically doing it. So
wow.
Yeah, that's just another way. It's amazing the way the body and the mind work. It just fascinates me every time I think about it.
Me too. I think we're incredible machines. We just are, like, biologically, and my body, mind, and soul and spirit. The whole thing is just fascinating. Anyway, we're running out of time, but this is just bloody awesome. So your book, living your dream life simply by changing your perceptions, is an audio book. So
well, actually, my book is both a paperback and a Kindle book on Amazon.
Okay. Yeah.
If people reach out to me and want the audio, I created the audio myself.
Yeah.
It's not on Audible or audiobooks or anything like that. I use it for my clients and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if anyone wants to reach out with me and have a chat, I'd be glad to actually give them access to the audiobook as well if they prefer listening to it.
Yep. Oh,
Um,
that's fantastic.
but yeah, this, I say simply by changing your perceptions. My first book was called Perceive This. And it was all on perceptions. And 2005, I think, is when I wrote that first book. And the second book is a rewrite, actually. But I haven't changed my mind. The way we perceive the world is our world.
Yep. Yep.
However, the way we perceive the world is based on our experiences and our beliefs and our values. And we can't change our experiences, but we can change the way what experiences mean to us. We can change our beliefs. And we, believe it or not, we can change our values.
Yep.
So when we change those, we can change how we see the world, how we perceive the world, and our world really changes.
Wow. Yeah, I love it. This stuff is fascinating. This is fascinating. I could talk for hours.
Oh, me too.
Yeah,
me too. I could have your audience sleeping very well if I start talking anymore.
I know. Look, I tell you what, I'm thinking particularly of about 4 listeners I know that would just be super glued to this, but it's just fantastic. Anyway, I'm gonna pull it up, but geez, I love this, and I really hope people go check out. But my get off the bench question for you: a lot of people feel stuck, which is preventing them from getting off the bench and probably doing anything. Where would you suggest they start to get some movement?
Well, they get stuck because they lack motivation, right? They just can't get themselves moving. By the way, we also refer to that as procrastination.
Yep.
And procrastination comes in not because everybody says lazy. It's not laziness at all.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Sometimes fear of failure, sometimes fear of success.
Yeah.
Those are the key things. So what I would say where they start is try to evaluate what it is about what they want to do that they can't do, what it is that's stopping them, or what it is that they really want to do. They can look at both sides, and they can look at the stick or the carrot, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then here's the thing. I usually ask a couple of questions. What's going to happen to me if I do get this done?
Yeah.
And what's going to happen to me if I don't get this done? Right.
Yeah.
Those are 2 questions. I'll have them then ask, what's not going to happen to me if I get this done, and what's not going to happen to me if I don't get this done.
Yeah.
But those first 2 questions are going to see, and sometimes people answer, well, if I get this done, yeah, this will happen, but it's not a big deal. Then I said, then write this off your list. Don't do it, because it's not worth doing. And maybe that's why you're not doing it, because deep down you're seeing it's not worth it. Right? But if they say, well, if I don't get this done, this, and this is going to happen, it's not going to be good. Usually that realization pushes them. Yeah. Because pain is a much bigger motivator than pleasure.
Yep.
Right. Yep. We don't want to always be motivated by pain, but sometimes just a little fire under your seat will at least get you off that seat.
Well, that's what we have to do. Make them all wooden benches to get people off the bench. Make them all wooden benches. Set fire to the bloody things, and then
and then they get going.
I love it. Well, Kevin, I have absolutely thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and this stuff just. It's bloody marvelous. It's fantastic. I don't know why I've suddenly got an itchy nose. I think it's because my cat under the desk starts scratching herself while you were talking in the last one. Anyway, or it could be a neurological thing. Anyway, where can people find you?
Okay. Our company is Peak Performance Mindset Coaching.
Yep.
And the website is, believe it or not, peakperformancemindsetcoaching.com. My email address is kevin@ Peak Performance Mindset Coaching, just all those 4 words put together.com. So yes, you can find me there easily.
Yeah.
And if someone connects with me, I do a Facebook Live and a LinkedIn Live every Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock Eastern time. Not sure what time that is, Australian time, but I always have these little tidbits, and it's free to listen, and I have fun, and I interact
Yeah.
with the audience through the chats if they're in there. And so, yeah, if once they connect with me, I'll show them how to connect with me on Facebook so they can look there as well. I'd be happy to converse with anyone that has any questions about what I've said. And if they're interested in NLP, they may never get off the phone with me. I can tell them everything about NLP. But no, reach out to me, ask me any questions, and if we want to get on Zoom with me, I'd be happy to. I've been talking to people all over the world on Zoom, and I just love it.
Yeah.
I love meeting new people, especially people that are like-minded, that like this stuff or have the belief that whatever this stuff is can help them.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to get on.
Yeah,
You know,
that's fantastic. Well, you won't disappoint. You don't disappoint. I love chatting with you, and it's just, you've brought so much value, so many gold nuggets, and I can't wait for people to connect with you, and they can connect with you through LinkedIn at Kevin A. Martin. But of course, as I always say in every show, I'm going to put all these links in the show notes so people can connect. But Kevin, I want to just thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, sharing your kindness, sharing your love for humanity, and sharing the pain as well, that you went through with your son. And because I think that the backstory really connects us to the person that we're talking to, and your love for making things better just matters so much. So I so appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me here to give me a platform to be able to share that. One of the things, my mission and my purpose is to help as many people to help themselves, because I believe what I do is actually, I'm a guide. It's really them, and I teach them how to help themselves once they leave me.
Yeah.
So this is a beautiful platform, and if I've helped anybody in this short time, this is perfect for what I hope to do. So thank you, and thank you very much for having me on here, Karen. I had a blast with you as well.
Yay! I love it. All right, well, thank you very much, and I look forward to our next chat, because you're just a bloody superhuman, and you're just a wonderful asset to the planet. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Karen.
Okay. See ya.
That was fun. See ya.